So you want to make a cool cartoon shader in a bunch of different styles from a bunch of different things. Hey guys, welcome back to TutsByKai. I'm Kai, and today we are back in Blender once again, taking a look at what I just said. We're gonna get started, and I made a video talking about the actual shader portion of this before. So if you want a more in-depth kind of thing for just that, then definitely go check the link in the description, and it'll probably be at the end of this video. But we're gonna mix a couple of things together today. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete the principal BSDF shader node. We can get rid of that because we don't need it. Hit Shift A, and I'm going to add in a couple of things. We're going to search for the word shader, and we're going to grab a shader to RGB. We're going to put that right there, and we're going to hit Shift A, and we're also going to grab a color ramp node, but I already have one down here, so we don't need that. We'll just go ahead and delete that for a second. I'll just move this one on up. We'll get into these colors in a second here. I'm going to hit Shift A, and we're going to hit Search, and we're going to add in a diffuse material and hook all of these up. So the BSDF into the shader, and then the color into the color ramp, and then the color ramp into the surface of the material output. Now you can see we got something like this. Now yours won't look like this because it's gonna look like this. Which is pretty much nothing, right? So it's gotten rid of all of the cool light on it and everything. That's because what we need to do is we need to do a couple things. We need to change this from linear to constant, and then we need to go ahead and drag this white one all the way back here. Then we get this little plus button to add in other colors, and this is pretty much what I did up here. I just want to save that one because I like the colors the way they were. So plus, and then we'll just click this and change the colors and whatever. And that's pretty much all I did. I just saved us some time by doing it up here and getting the colors perfect the way that I wanted them in the first place. So this one right here, this hex value is that guy right there, and this guy is that, and the white is just solid white. Yeah, and this one is just very slightly off white, just to give a little bit of a highlight on the top, the tippity top most places, like this place right here. All right, so now that we have that all set up, we can go ahead and do the actual freestyle line, which is the actual cool main part of the show here. So let's go ahead, get started. I'm going to go to the actual main tab here, which is like the render tab, the scene tab, I suppose. We're going to go down here and check freestyle, make sure that is on. We don't need to do anything with this line thickness. We don't need to even touch that. Then we're going to go ahead and go down to here. And what we're going to do is in the layer tab here, we're going to scroll on down till we find the freestyle line set and hit plus. Now we can just we can name this something if you want. You just call it line. It doesn't really matter. And then we can go ahead and start changing stuff. Now, you're not going to see anything change. I am on rendered viewport shading right now, so I'm not on solid. I'm not on material. I am on rendered. My background is also a blue color like that, by the way, just in case you were curious of what hex value that was. So now, if I were to go ahead and render on this, you would be able to see that it does this. It has a nice line to it, and pretty much if you want to be done, you can be done, but you can see how the edges aren't they're not tapering at all. It doesn't look very good. It's kind of thin, and some of the little pieces here are kind of messed up. You see it kind of doubles there and other places. So we can do a couple things to fix this up, but it does look pretty good already by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down to this freestyle line style here, and then we're going to change this name to maybe just line again. And we're going to go to thickness. Now thickness is the main category we're going to want to worry about, so it's down here. We're going to leave this on center, and we're going to add a modifier, and this modifier is going to be a long stroke. Now, we don't really want it to be this way because what we need is the little curves. So we're going to change this from linear to curve, and now we have this nice little like black-white curve kind of thing that you would use if you were fixing up colors. But it's not for colors, it's for the line width and tapering, so that's pretty cool. We're going to drag this top one all the way down, and then we're going to drag this one up to, then we're going to drag a point from the middle up to about right there, half in between this guy right here. Now you could go, let's try it down here first. We could go like that and see what it does. So pretty much it's going to taper the line and make it a bit thinner on the edges. You can see that it does really well. It's very, very thin, and the lines are being tapered, but that's not enough. So I'm going to put that up right there, and we're going to change this from mix to multiply, and we're going to hit render on this once again. And now we have a bit of a thicker line now, and you can see that the edges are being tapered, which are pretty sweet, but it's still kind of thin. So I'm going to go ahead and bump up the thickness right here in the freestyle line style to maybe 5, sure, and we'll give that a render again. Unfortunately, you have to render it every time to see the difference, but that's only because it does this as a post-processing effect, not as a real-time effect. This is not a real-time technique right here. So we got a bit of a thicker line, which looks nice. You could offset it to have the line be generated inside the mesh or outside the mesh or relative, so you can get like an in-between wherever you want it. So the more you go to 1, the more outside it is. The more you go to 0, the more inside it is. You can go halfway in between, have it like on the edge or whatever, but default is 0.5, by the way. I'm going to leave that in the center for now. So that looks good the way that it is. We can also bump up the center of this by dragging these pieces up, the edge pieces, and then hitting render on this. And now you can see that it's a bit thicker. So it still tapers, but it's a bit thicker on the ends, which looks pretty sweet. So I think I'll leave it like that. Maybe not that much. Maybe just the first line right here. So we have these 4 little chunks, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe on the first little chunk, I will leave it right there. So looks good. We can downsize that, and we can do a couple more things now. We can add another modifier, and we can make this noise. There we go. And this noise is going to be way too much if we do this, the default value. You can see that it is way too much. It looks all squiggly and like really, really bad. So we're going to go ahead and turn the amplitude down to 1, or even actually, I think I did 0.5 to be honest with you. And then I think it looks much better than what it did before. Yeah, it looks much, much better. So you can see we have the very, very subtle kind of noise staggering compared to this, which was nothing. We don't want to turn that off. Okay, there we go. Compared to this, which is just 100% smooth all the time. So that's what it was. Then that's with the noise modifier, and it looks super good. It just gives it a little added kind of effect, which looks super good. So I like that a lot. Let's put that noise back on there. There we go. And 0.5. All right. So we can do some more things. We can change the color of stuff by scrolling on down to the color value here in the freestyle line style. Changing the base color, we'll go ahead and eyedrop the darkest color of our material that we created, and then we'll just click that and then just drag it down a little bit, saturate it a little bit, something like that, and maybe just drag it down the color value a little bit. So that way when we render this, you can see that our line is no longer black and it is now a color, which looks nice, but I think that's too blue for the teal darkness that we have. So I'll go ahead and just fix it up a little bit, and there we go. That's much better. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now we have a line that is blending a bit more with our a bit more with our shape. I think it's kind of thin still, so maybe we can go ahead and actually turn this thickness up to something crazy like 8. And there we go. Yeah, looks pretty good. I think we could probably actually get away with even doing 10, maybe. I don't know. It just depends on what you're going for. If you want the really thin line, then do the thin line. If you want the thicker line, do the thicker line. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for a thick style line. For a thin style line, I'm gonna say you should go maybe to 2. 1 is just a little bit too thin, especially with the tapering on. You can barely even see it. So that if you want a super thin line like anime style, definitely go for the 2. But if you want just maybe a more subtle line that's thin but not so thin, maybe probably the 3 is probably good. Maybe the 3 or even the 4 or 5. You can probably do the 5. But yeah. So that is pretty much it for today's video. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new about the freestyle. It's more like a freestyle video rather than the actual shader itself. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, bye-bye.